What's up, guys? How are you? Welcome back to Hiba en mi carrito. I want to do a quick video. I know I've been away for a while. Like I said, just been busy, not feeling well, trying to feel better, but it's been a challenge, obviously. But I appreciate all your patience, your love, your kind words, your messages, and and your concerns. That I haven't really been around and haven't really been able to do much of anything that you guys appreciate me doing and like that I do. So I want to talk about real quick about the subject on this Hellena Tyler, which is the voice of Bayonetta. That she put a tweet out on Twitter with some videos explaining, how she's been offered, only $4,000 to voice over Bayonetta 3, and that she felt insulted, and that Bayonetta has accumulated, about $420 million lifetime since its existence, and that it didn't include merchandising and things of that nature. Which merchandising, Bayonetta doesn't have a lot to offer to begin with. They only did a couple of pops. They did a few years back Play Art Skies, and those things were super expensive because that's the price point that Play Art Sky did. So they didn't sell a lot, right? And maybe some posters or clothing or stuff here and there. There's just not a lot, So why she brought that up, I don't understand. Now, I respect people's body of work and they should get paid well, especially that she is the voice of Bayonetta. And I know that she deserves it in the sense that she's created her persona and it's been a nice, and her personality of who she is, even though she didn't create the character, right, or the world, right? She just is her personality, which is cool. But what I don't like is that there's a lot more details to this whole situation that people are not paying attention to. They're not really talking about, and even herself is not being detailed and descriptive about, right? Number one, Bayonetta 1, right, only sold over 1 million, I think 1.5 million copies during the 360 and PS3 era, right? And you guys are like, oh yeah, but that's a lot. No, it wasn't, because it was between 2 platforms, I believe, and even PC. So the game technically failed as far as sales, right? But it didn't fail as far as numbers for Platinum Game and for Sega, because they're the ones who published it that first time. Sega was the one who funded the game, and it was their IP, and Platinum created the game for them, right? So Sega was the one who fit the bill. So they made back money in the sense that 1 million plus copies at $60 a game is a nice return. But as far as getting enough people to play the game and enough copies out there, the game's a failure, right? It didn't do well. And so there's a big difference and a fine line between that people don't want to explain. And so what ended up happening was, because it didn't do as well as Sega expected it to do, when they wanted to do a sequel, right? The rumor was that they went to Microsoft and Sony rather, to see if they would fund the game to do the sequel and make the game exclusive to their console. But neither Microsoft nor Sony wanted to do it because the game didn't sell well enough and didn't make enough revenue for them to take the chance to budget the second game at a higher cost. The only people that took the bill at the time was Nintendo, because if you guys know, Bayonetta 1 was never available on the Nintendo console, right? It was when they made 2 that they included Bayonetta 1 for the first time on Nintendo, which was the Wii U. And when Bayonetta 2 came out, Nintendo funded the game. But you could see within the game, even though it was a far superior game with the ideas, the thoughts, the gameplay, and the story and all that stuff that they did, that the game still felt very constricted. It was very linear, closed in, claustrophobic. You can tell that they were working with a budget and what they could as far as the hardware with the Wii U. And so what ended up happening was that Wii U, right, had limitations, so they did the best they could, which was an excellent game. Bayonetta 2 is probably one of the greatest action games of all time. And that's saying a lot because you guys know I like a lot of action games. But it really is that good, right? And even though it was that good, people skipped it. It only sold 28,000 copies at its initial release. I don't know how lifetime and much it might have sold after the fact, but if once it sold after the fact, that means it was diminished returns. That means the game sold at $5, $10, $20 and things of that nature. Because that game was one of the few that actually dropped in price. Because you know, and we all know, Nintendo don't drop the price of any of their IPs or any of their exclusives, especially the ones that do well for them. That game did, because it didn't do well for them. And it doesn't help that Nintendo didn't market the game at all when they brought it out to the Wii U. It was very little and minimalistic marketing. So that means Nintendo was the one who funded it and funded the marketing for that game, right? Now, there was someone who posted something somewhere. I forgot where it was. It was on Twitter, I believe. That there was a source at Sega that said that this hellena, okay, sorry guys, my phone fell off the piece. I apologize. There was a source at Sega supposedly said that she had gotten paid for part one about $150,000. And for the second game, she got paid $100,000. Now, if this is true, because again, I don't like talking about rumors, but if it's true, right, then I don't appreciate it. I don't really like the angle that Hellena Tyler is going on, acting as if Platinum Games, right, and because she only mentions Platinum, right, Games is paying her $4,000 or offered her $4,000 just for Bayonetta, like if that's all she ever got offered or paid for in the whole series and life series or certain life cycle of the series. That's what I meant. Because if that's the case, that's very hypocritical of her to do that and very disingenuous, because she should be more specific and lay out the details that she was offered only $4,000 for Bayonetta 3. But if we all gonna look at it with common sense, if that's what they offered for Bayonetta 3, then more than likely it's because Platinum Games, okay, must not have enough funds for them to pay out her a better amount of money for Bayonetta 3, because Bayonetta 2 was re-released for the Switch and only sold 68,000 copies and failed again. So Nintendo, I know, is not going to take the risk in giving them more money than they did for the second one twice to even re-release it, right? That they even re-released it. To have a game fail or possibly fail because of the track record that it already has with the first two games. I mean, I think it's mind-boggling that they even gave them enough money to do the third one. Especially that they have failed with the first two. And Platinum Game has a record of, with all their games, a lot of them are good, but most have failed. Their real first success was Beautiful Joe back on the GameCube, I believe it was. And then they went to PS2. And Beautiful Joe 2, which did okay. And then they had Okami, which did okay, right? And that time. And then, of course, we know Vanquish and Bayonetta did somewhat okay for them during the 360 era and the PS3. Metal Gear Solid Revengeance failed. Then, last generation, they did Nier Automata, right? Which is the first game that actually did well for them under the publishing of Square Enix, right? This is the first actual game that did well for them under the publishing of Square Enix, But that's because of the nature of how the game was. And it was because it was supposedly first it was exclusive to PS4. But then when it came to Xbox, it was a problem and people started talking junk. But Star Fox, that failed. Ninja Turtles, that failed. Transformers Devastation, that failed. The Last Airbender, The Legend of Korra, that failed. Babylon 5, that failed. Anarchy Reigns, that failed. Mad World, that failed. You understand? Most of their games have failed. Not for lack of them being good games or being potentially good, greatest hits material, but because they just failed. People didn't pay attention to their games. Because unfortunately in this industry, gamers only pay attention to games when everybody's talking about it. They don't know how to go and look for their own passageway with different games. Just like they're doing with Scorn. That Scorn may not be for everybody because it's more puzzle-based survival horror and atmospheric, but it is a game that is worth the people's time at least. So at least try it out. If you like it, you do. You don't, you don't. And now all these people are trying to just, it sucks, it's cucks, it's corny because the puzzles are too hard because, I don't know how to do the combat. It's not good enough. I mean, games are not supposed to hold your hand. And that's the problem with the gamers today. They're too used to games holding their hands like a game like God of War or like Uncharted, that they tell you even how to pick up a box, for example. That's how self-explanatory it is. It holds your hand every step of the way, and that's why they're used to that, right? Or used to just watching games with a lot of cutscenes to feel more filmic and movie-like, instead of actually having gameplay that you got to use your brains and solve what you need to do. And that's why Scorn is being so heard on and hated on, and people are, trying to talk down on it. Not because it's slow pace or maybe it's boring to them. The way that E-Rock pointed out, that for him, he just found it boring. And that's a valid statement. These guys are just like, it's too hard. You got to do too much things, and I can't figure it out. Basically, because you have to actually do the work, figure it out on your own. It doesn't hold your hand, doesn't tell you what you got to do, or what lever to press, where to go, what room to go into, and what to do. That is why they're hating on the game, right? So, not to get off track of the subject too much. So, the reality is, I blame Nintendo wholeheartedly for this situation. Because I know Nintendo is the one funding the game. And I understand Nintendo's position and why they're not giving enough money payout, or maybe pay more money out to make the sequel or make part 3. Because the other one failed. And they re-released it twice. So I understand from a business perspective where Nintendo's coming from. But if you know you're going to get voice actors and do things, and you approve the project, then at the very least, you got to make sure that you have enough funds to compensate the voice actors and the people behind the game, whether they're developers or voice acting or animators, right? To pay them enough money that they feel like their body of work was worth the time to make the game. Nintendo hasn't said a word since Hellena Tyler came out and made the tweet and made the videos. And Hellena Tyler's addressing it as if it's Platinum's fault. Not taking into consideration that Platinum is getting paid by Nintendo for Bayonetta 3. And they don't have a lot of money to begin with. The only reason they keep making games is because other companies and developers and publishers are the one taking and fitting the bill to pay for the development, and they only have to make the game, and they pay them based on how much the game does or how much the contract was to make the game in general. So meaning if they told them, we're going to give you $10 million to make the game and $2 million goes to your staff, then that's what they got paid, and they really have $8 million for the game, right? Sometimes the funding is just not enough. Making games is expensive, especially in this day and age. It's beyond expensive. That's why a lot of games lose money fast. And that's why they say that Game Pass is helping, because it helps discover these games day and day, and people will not feel like they're taking a risk, buying a new game, play it, and if they actually like it, like a Scorn, they'll go and buy it without any remorse because they paid the money for it, and they'll gladly pay the $40 or $50 because they invested and they know that they're not wasting their money by playing their game on Game Pass. So again, I just don't like that this woman, like I said, if she got paid, and that's true, for the first 2 games individually, and got paid that type of money, where did that money go? $150,000 is a lot of money. And $100,000 is a lot of money if that's what she got paid for the first 2 games. She has to understand that if the games didn't sell well and didn't do well, you're not going to get paid more money. It just comes with the territory. It's not like movies that when they hire an actor like Tom Cruise, he gets paid his salary right up front. If he gets paid $40 million for every movie he makes, that's what they got to pay him right from the beginning. $40 million just to him for him to be in the movie. It comes with the territory. It's a risk they got to take. Then if the movie costs $150 million, that means they got to put another $150 million to create the movie. So it'll be like $200 million before even marketing. That is why it's called a risk. And movies fail all the time. Whether they're good or not, it doesn't matter. It's the same applying logic to gaming. But we need to call out not just Platinum. Because I don't think in this case, okay, like I said, I know Platinum's messed up in the past and done a lot of stupid decisions and shady things. But in this case, I don't think it's Platinum. I think Platinum is working with what they got. And Nintendo just didn't fund them enough. So what Nintendo should do is come out and make a statement to her and tell her, we'll try to give you a better deal once the sales of the games come out to see how the game does. Because if the game does fairly well, then they'll be able to pay her easily with no problem. Even though Nintendo has money, and if they're so-called, quote-unquote, so great, making all this cash, why not give her a deal? Why not pay her another $50,000, right? But she didn't take the role. Someone else took the role for that $4,000 or whatever she got, because it was an opportunity, right? And then she's sitting there acting as, oh, I'm Bayonetta, I created her. No, you created the voice and the personality within the game. But the character creation in the world was not created by you. It was created by Sega and Platinum Games. It's Sega's IP. You did not create Bayonetta the character. You created her personality, which anyone else can come in and voice it over based on the personality that you already gave her. So you cannot be mad at the actress that came in and took the job. It was an opportunity for her to do something, and she took it like any normal human being would. But if you did get paid well for the other 2 games, then you cannot sit there and try to act like, oh, I'm going broke now, I'm hurting, and blame that on Platinum or Nintendo. Because you got to take responsibility for your own actions. If you didn't know how to budget your money, you got $250,000 just for voicing a character. And I'm pretty sure this lady probably had other jobs and did other things. And now you're claiming that you're broke and you're hurting financially. Then you don't know how to manage your money. You don't know how to live within your means. That is not a fault of anybody. Not the players, not the consumers, not Platinum, not Nintendo. But, again, Nintendo should step up and do right by her if that was the case and had offered her more money. But they didn't, because, again, Nintendo was not going to take the risk to make a game that they already put a lot of money in the second game, and it was not a profitable return. It was basically diminished returns. There were profits that they had to pay out already and that were paid out already, and they were basically trying to break even. They didn't make any profits for them, self-gain at all with Bayonetta 2. So that's why it would make sense for them to give a smaller budget for Bayonetta 3. But if that's what they were going to do, where they couldn't pay everybody out, to be honest, Nintendo should have never did it at all. They should have never approved it. It should have never been done. That's why I said Nintendo has to be held accountable, because they knew what they were doing. They knew what they approved, and they knew that money was going to be a part of the solution and problem. Because as time goes on, people are going to want to get paid more money due to inflation, due to the economy changes, whatever. Everything's more expensive. People need to get paid better as time goes on. It's just the normal, the normal cycle of life and society. So my thoughts on it is, I think Helena's wrong for not being honest about and specific about that she got paid separately for each game, so that people don't act as if she's just getting $4,000 lifetime for the whole life cycle of Bayonetta's series in existence, because that's not true. That's a lie, and you're coming off as disingenuous. Okay, but if you had did your work and they did have money, and you can prove they had money and they didn't want to pay you, then that's different. Because she just said they made this much with this franchise, overall, but she didn't show no real proof, right? So again, like I said, I think this is more Nintendo's fault, and they should be called out for it. It should be a topic of conversation. It shouldn't just be, oh, Helena's a victim, that's wrong. Oh, Platinum Game is evil, while Nintendo just sits back, relaxes, and just act like they're innocent and not anti-consumer. Because they are not innocent, and they are anti-consumer. The game comes out literally in 2 weeks. It's their last big AAA exclusive for the year. And they are not even marketing the game. So if you pay all this money for the game and you're not even marketing, and the game comes out in 2 weeks, then that means you have either no faith in the game, or you really didn't pay out a lot of money for it, or you're just releasing it just for the fact that it's on Nintendo, that it's exclusive, but don't really care about the franchise, and don't really care if the franchise does well. You see? So then you're coming off as hypocrites, Nintendo. Why is there no marketing for this game? If it comes out literally in 2 weeks, where's the marketing? If this is your last big third, exclusive to your console. You see what I'm saying? I don't understand that. That just doesn't make no sense. Especially when you invested money. So that tells me the money they invested must not have been a big ass pot, or big enough for them to feel concerned and worried if the game doesn't do well. Oh well, it is what it is. We just move on and life goes on. That's what that tells me. They're being hypocrites, and they should be held accountable. Both Nintendo and not just Platinum. I feel Nintendo is just as much as fault, if not completely at fault, because they're the ones budgeting the game, and like I said, Platinum is offering the jobs and the payouts based on what purse they have that was paid by Nintendo to make and create Bayonetta 3. It's that simple. Like, you guys may not agree with me. You guys may think I don't know what I'm talking about, but it is what it is. It's just use your logic and think about the bigger picture, and not just this woman saying boycott it, which in reality she actually cared for the character. She wouldn't say boycott it. She would say, no, support it, but I just wanted to put this out there. Maybe Nintendo and Platinum can help me out and give me a better percentage for what, for the game and the sales, because she would want the game to do well and sell well enough so that she can get revenue from it and they can give her a payout. But because she didn't do the voiceover, it was someone else, and she's not getting paid for it, that's why she's doing it. So she's doing it out of spite. And that's why I think it's wrong, and it rubs me the wrong way, because that is not professional. And if you really cared about the character, you wouldn't say boycott the game. You just say be wary, and this is what happened, and let people know, and they make their own decisions, not based on you telling them to boycott it directly yourself. Anyway, guys, I have another idea for a video for another topic based on what happened with that developer from Rocksteady saying that The Series S is holding back this generation. I'm going to try to do a video on that later on today, so stay tuned for that. Let me know what you think. If you agree with me, if you didn't agree with me, give me a thumbs up. If you liked the video, thumbs down if you did it. As always, if you're new to the channel, thank you for stopping by. For all you that continue to give me that support, thank you, because without you, the channel would not be sustained. Remember, if you're new to the channel, you subscribe. I thank you a million times, because I know you didn't have to, but since you did, I consider you now part of my family. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below about what you think about me, if you agree with me or not. Share this video with someone you think that would like it. You can find me on any social media platforms like Twitter or Instagram. The information is down in the description below. Or if you would like to help me out in any way, shape, or form on my channel, because you like what I do, just to help me out, because it's a struggle for me to obtain things, because I have a big family. I'm not really wealthy. I don't do no money in YouTube. It's very hard. And you just want to do something nice to help me out with the kindness of your heart, you can do it. It's all down in the description below with my Patreon and PayPal account. If you want me to highlight anything in the channel, like review it, the way I do my reviews or something like that, and you want to make a donation so that I can do it, I'll be more than happy to. It'll be a pleasure. It'll be an honor to do so. Just hit me up on one of those DMs on social, and we'll work out the particulars. So, guys, it's your boy Hebot signing off. Sorry, I look sleepy. I am, and I'll see you guys very soon on the next video. Peace.